What's up, guys? I'm SaltEMike, and this is your Star Citizen Week in Review for August 22nd, 2022. Some old favorites are getting revived in Star Citizen 3.18, but there has not been a word on the timeline of that patch as of yet, and it's Ship Showdown time. All that and more on today's Week in Review. And as always, if this is your first week in review, this is where I take all of the official Star Citizen news each week, put it into one video, and share some of my opinions on them. I also live stream on Twitch every day but Monday, although this week I'm taking a little bit of a break until Friday, which will start at 6:30 a.m. Eastern Time on twitch.tv/SaltEMike. And I also have a second channel, SaltEMike 2, where you will continue to get regular updates there. But we do have quite a bit to get through, so let's start out with some patch notes updates. And we only got one patch this week, and it's on the PTU, patch Y for 3.17.2, which just had some medical beacon, elevator fixes, and the current event is Ninetales Lockdown, so some bugs were fixed around that. There was also a wallet issue that was resolved, where some people were seeing their credits at 0, and I believe that was hotfixed from live through this patch. But I will take the opportunity to remind everyone that 3.18 is approximately 2 months late in terms of the time we expected it to be in Evocati from the letter for the chairman, with absolutely no word from anybody at the company as to what went on there or what is going on there. A simple "what's going on" would suffice, and that is my weekly reminder to please do that, CIG. And then on to our bi-weekly reminder that there actually is progress going on towards 3.18 in Star Citizen. We had the roadmap roundup, and they started out with the Arena Commander racing changes that are going to be coming. This is one of the things that I was looking forward to most for 3.18, but then they reminded us that, well, didn't remind us, they realized that they had made a mistake on the scheduling of this, and it was always planned for 3.19 and is still on track for that. Then we had Volt Gun and AI changes. Basically, FPS weapons don't have a huge impact on the game at the moment. There are definitely preferences that people have, but I think a lot of their features around them just aren't in the game, which would create those differences and maybe scenarios where you would use one weapon over another, things like that. Think weapon ammo types and mag stripping and all those kind of things. And then for AI, we obviously know when we have servers that are not crawling and that are actually running, we will likely see something good with that. People touted the PTU Siege Vorsen tests as a great example of that, where the AI were actually quite punishing. And then aerodynamic control surfaces. We heard about this years ago. It's finally back on the schedule. I know a lot of Flight Sim fans are really excited for this one, and I just hope it works out as well as the vehicle experience team thinks it will. This week we had an ISC and an SEL. The ISC was titled Doing Time, and they started out with a security post-Korea featurette, and like most updates around things like this, they sort of touch on why they're updating the station in the first place.
Back in its heyday, Korea used to be this big central hub for PvP,
which has multiple entrances and exits and is just perfect for that kind of gameplay.
When we added the UGFs and added some of the security depots where you could go and hack away your crime stat, kind of took away from Korea's unique PvP draw.
And we've decided that we want to give players a taste of what Korea used to be like.
This really was a hotspot and a funneling location for players in the past for FPS combat, and they're definitely looking at feedback about lack of player interaction and finding ways to do that, and they're going to try to do that here. How it will work, it's hard to tell right now, but I hope it works out. Then, what's actually going to be changing here?
You're going to immediately notice Crusader has moved in at this point.
They're going to be using this facility as it was intended. And the way they're doing this, and we're doing this to hopefully entice PvP at this location, is we're firstly beefing up the exterior security of Korea.
You will be met with new online turrets that will not be too happy with you arriving.
It's now going to be even harder for people to approach and land. When you get there to land, you might find some enemies on the landing pad to thwart your infiltration of Korea.
All right, this first change might work out pretty well because the intention here is clearly for this station to be an FPS combat location. And ships dominate the game right now when they're just pointed straight nose down, things like that. Now, I think that will only work out if certain scenarios happen, but it's clearly intended that if you're a ship and you're nearby this, that it's intended to be punishing. We'll have to see what happens with that, but yeah. But there's more changes that are going to be going on the inside of the station.
When you're inside Korea, there'll be Crusader security all around that you'll have to take out if you want to use that station. After killing a few of them, a security chief will spawn.
Now, if you take this guy down and you look around, he will have a security code on him.
You can take his datapad off, operate his terminal, and then start this contraband dispenser.
It's a device that goes into Korea's storage facility and pulls up contraband that was deposited by the law enforcement.
And the great thing about that is obviously we've got some highly valuable drugs in the game. We're making even more highly prohibited and expensive goods. As well as scrap. Just we'll throw some worthless rubbish in there, so it's an absolute gamble.
Starting out with the player-initiated Jump Town Light, I think is a really cool mechanic, especially because you don't know, I don't know if you caught this, but they seem like they're making additional commodities that are going to be added to the location, as well as, well, guards on the inside. And I think that's what people like the least. And the reason why is because there probably is a chance that you're going there to clear your crime stat. And if you are, you're going to have to get additional crime stats just to clear the one that may have been quite minor. So there's a lot of talk around that in the community. I believe in order to do this, you're going to have to change the way you clear crime stats. Certain ones just have to be faster, easier, quicker hacking. Whatever they need to do, something has to change because the location has become the gate of time and effort into clearing your crime stat, whereas the time to hack previously was. And the last one is the biggest change, and people are certainly torn about it.
You'll still be able to wipe your crime stat there. That is always going to be wanted at Korea. But the new thing we've done is we've removed the UGF crime stats. You will no longer be able to go to a UGF to wipe it.
Obviously, that's going to focus criminals and like law enforcement, those who roleplay law enforcement into that area. But we decided that still wasn't enough. We'd been looking for a way to give players their first ever kind of player-triggered mission.
When this location goes under attack, which is when a certain amount of the AI that are defending the location are killed, a broadcast will be put out to all bounty hunters, anyone who is a lawful player, to come to this location and remove the threat at that location. However, don't get greedy and pick up any of the contraband. You might just be marked as one of those bad players.
I want to start out first with, it is absolutely confirmed that when you take this mission, there will be no god markers on players' heads. This mission specifically, that does not mean that bounty hunting missions will not have those god markers, but you can only see a player's location with the bounty hunter mission one at a time. So most likely this is going to be a group fighting scenario, maybe, and if it is, you're not going to gain a huge advantage by taking a player's bounty, because hopefully there's some combat going on and you're not always going to be able to switch that easily. And I really think that people are torn on this one because, again, I stated it a little bit before, most people that are going to clear their crime stats are likely people that had very few crimes. Most likely that means that it was an accidental bunker mission. It was, I bumped into somebody's ship. I didn't intend to go out there today and get a crime stat. So they go and they clear it. I think what's going to happen then is players like that are just going to go to jail. I also think 90% of player bounties, meaning bounty hunters, are going to be engaging their bounties in ship combat before they ever get to the station. That's going to be the tough one. And as much as I want this to be an FPS location as well, I just don't see it playing out that way. But I am going to give it a chance to get in game, give my feedback after playing it, but those are certainly my concerns right now. And then they did a prison update where they added a number of new ways to get out of prison.
So straight out of the gate, the first thing we're investigating is NPC prisoners in the caves. You'll be able to hopefully kill them if you want to risk the crime, and they might have some things that might help reduce your sentence.
Some of you have noticed there's stashes dotted around the tunnels.
We're looking at ways to have a system where players can bring back contraband and other prison wanted items and be rewarded for it.
We also want to investigate adding a reward for players taking out violent inmates. This will help clean the prison up and stop them from causing a ruckus, and it will also provide, the model prisoners more ways to legally and preferably pay off their crimes to society.
Now, all this stuff seems cool. We just needed more variety, especially because the two current varieties that we have tend to not work all the time, right? So adding more on there should just be better, hopefully, if they're working as well. But then they shared some sneaky info on what seems like a really interesting way of getting out of prison.
In a certain depth, in a certain cave, we're adding what is known as a black spot, where outside entities can contact you and ask you to do work inside of the prison.
In doing so, they will be rewarded very handsomely.
I really like the idea of this one. Which NPC mission givers do you think would be contacting us here? There's some seedy people around Hurston. You have Rudo. You have plenty of interesting people that might contact us. Then for Star Citizen Live, I normally would cover this in much more depth, but I noticed a lot of repeat questions, a lot of vague answers. And if you want to see the whole thing, I posted it on SaltEMike too, my full reaction of Star Citizen Live. There just wasn't a ton of things to sink my teeth into, except for one question.
We have ships of different sizes for the same profession. Is the smaller one just a stepping stone, or will there be something that only small ships can do or fit in? Example, a high value area that only prospectors can access that maybe what's Orion can't.
There isn't one answer because it's not the same answer across all the different careers. Yes, some of them are like stepping stones, but they're not like the sole way of going up that career. For other ones, we see like it's not going to be like an entirely ship-based career. Like you may have a ship at one point, but then it may transition to a location based version of that. If you think refineries now, refinery is all done at stations, and in the future we'll have the expansion game, and people can do refinery now on the station. So is that the starter, or is the expanse the starter? It's sort of what you make of it. Obviously with station-based ones, you don't have as much flexibility as you will with the expanse, and I'm sure in the future we'll have larger refinery ships. But also it's there to sort of gate the progression in some way. Like a lot of people, if you think of like most RTSs, you have like your tech tree of maybe not vehicles, but the buildings you can build or the troops you can make. And it's sort of similar to that in that we don't want you to go straight in at the top, ideally. We want you to build your way through it. But yeah, I'm just waffling now. But
that last part there was the most telling in his sheer pain of trying to explain progression in Star Citizen. I don't think it's healthy to psychoanalyze all of their answers. I think that's super weird. But I also feel like 10 years into just selling ships, period, we should have an idea of the progression paths in the game, how ships are used with them. It should have been easy to answer that question, is kind of what I'm saying. But this also touches on my comments around pay to win and Star Citizen, right? They don't want you to just jump and climb the progression path by jumping straight to another ship. But again, it was all really vague and didn't show exactly that there's no clear progression. But yeah, I think things like reputation have to tie in, and it's more about options around ships, if I was kind of decoding what he was saying there correctly. And lastly, I think the big one here is, if you didn't catch it, he said some ship progression would move to a location outside of a ship at some point. Think colonialism outposts, think things that they're planning for Pyro. That one caught my ear. That was the most gameplay related thing that I heard in the episode. I'm really excited about that one. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below, and then we'll move on to other updates. And with that, we start out with a sneak peek. Still, what, 2 years later, we're showing colonial outposts like they're going to happen anytime soon. Just going back on the theme and video updates, it's exciting to think about those things, but we don't even have the foundation of the tech that makes the location where these things would be a reality, which is PES. We don't even know what's going on with 318, and server meshing has to come before you even get colonialism outposts. So it's just sad. When I see this, I got more upset than I got interested, excited, any other emotion. It was just disappointment. And then for a lore post, this was basically a story of the workers union at Hurston and how it went extremist. And then lastly, Ship Showdown. So Ship Showdown Phase 1 has begun, where you just make some videos or Legos and things like that. And there'll be a top 16 based on all of the votes that go into those. And yeah, they'll kind of turn it into a contest where we'll vote for our favorite ships if you guys haven't seen these before. Also, they turn really toxic because people are upset that their ship isn't in the voting or whatever, and it's just really genuinely stupid. This is supposed to be a stupid thing. It's supposed to be a fun thing, and people take it way, way too seriously. Chill. And they did a separate contest on TikTok where people went even more ridiculous, in my opinion. People there posting for Ship Showdown have a chance to win some LTI ships or whatever, right? No big deal. But the boomers in the community don't want to go to TikTok to post their stuff. They don't want to make an account. They think it's whatever the website is being said that it is, and that's fine. I don't have a TikTok either, okay? But I'm not going out there making a big deal about CIG posting on TikTok. This is a company. CIG is selling their game through word of mouth and have been doing it for 10 years. Why wouldn't they want to grow the platform that has the most active users on it right now? Like, why wouldn't they do this, guys? Like, just think about it. If you're a fan of the game, you would want them to do something like this because it reaches more people, it grows the game, it grows the amount of people that you can interact with. It just makes sense. And with that said, guys, that is it for this week's Week in Review. Thank you so much for watching. I enjoyed making it as always. And like I said earlier, I'm taking a little break. I'm a little burnt out with streaming and all the YouTube stuff and everything, and I just need a little vacation. So this is the moment where that vacation starts. This is the moment this video goes up. So thank you so much for watching. Make sure you leave a like. Those really do help. Share this video out. It helps heaps and heaps. And leave a comment down below. We talked about a lot of interesting things. Let me know what you thought about those. And lastly, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys all next week. Now that was a good outro. That was one take, everybody. Just saying.